I've been very anxious to talk to everybody just because I kept telling myself I should sign up like the day before and then just go the next day. But I gave myself like 2 weeks to think about it, so I've rewritten this a couple times. So hopefully this is my best draft. But today I wanted to speak to you about 2 types of motivation, which I've kind of created myself. I don't know if they're legitimate terms. But I'm going to use inner motivation and outer motivation. And when I refer to inner motivation, it's pretty straightforward, but motivating yourself. And outer motivation is the motivation you get from the other people around you. If you look at a list of goals that you have in your life, you can really draw from both of these types of motivation a lot. When I take a look back at the last year of my life, I've crossed a few things off my list of goals. And many of these things I thought were really difficult and took a lot of energy to accomplish. So I'll give you 3 examples. Around last Thanksgiving, my husband and I purchased our first home. So for all you homeowners or aspiring homeowners, you know the struggle is real. Just like Andy talked about earlier, finances can be stressful, and you look at your bank account and you say, yeah, I can make it, but it's still tough. So we've been really happy with that, and that was a big goal for us to accomplish. I've also conquered a big part of my public speaking fear. A year ago, you would have had to pay me a lot of money to come up here and talk in front of all of you. But over the last few months, I completed the admissions leadership program. I joined Toastmasters, which is my mini advertisement to you to come check out a meeting once a week. It's really fun. And just starting out with that, I immediately started getting better at my confidence in speaking in front of people. I hope no one's counting my ums today. So every speech that I deliver through Toastmasters, I strive to get better and better. A couple months ago, at the beginning of June, I completed my first marathon, which I learned that I am bad at training for marathons. But I survived it, and we've already started looking at signing up for our next one, which I would not have told you I would do the week after I completed that. So these goals were achieved from motivation from those around me. There is also a great deal of having to motivate myself. Whether it was gathering the nerve to stand up in front of a crowd, or getting up early on a weekend morning to look at another few homes, or go for a run when sleep sounded like the better option. Words of encouragement and support from others were a big help along the way. But when it came down to it, I had to pull myself up and tell myself to get going. And a lot of that came back from my inner motivation. I typically consider myself to be a pretty motivated and positive person. And even on the days where I might have a rough start to my morning, whether I didn't wake up in time to make coffee or there's bad traffic on the 91 and I got late to work, I can usually turn my attitude around to be optimistic and put a smile on my face for the rest of the day. But sometimes inner motivation isn't enough to conquer these obstacles. The last couple of months have made it tough for me to hold on to my inner motivation, because I encountered an obstacle I couldn't control. At the beginning of August, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. I don't know how to word this. This is my dad, obviously. I've had many mornings where I would wake up and this is the only thing I could think about. Nothing else mattered to me. And being a couple thousand miles away from home hasn't made it any easier to be away from my family. But even throughout the roughest of days, I could come to work and be surrounded by the most amazing and dedicated people. I'm gonna stop crying now. Not a lot of people can say that about themselves and their jobs. And I feel very fortunate to have a really strong support system here. And on the days I couldn't find my inner motivation, you picked up the slack. So even though you didn't know it, you made a difference to me. Whether it was saying good morning, or sending a nice email. I said I would do it, but I didn't, sorry. Or just a friendly smile. You helped make this time in my life easier for me. And because of the support around me, I've been able to stay positive for my dad when he's needed it the most. We've taken it day by day, and now, since this is a very aggressive cancer, we're already halfway through chemo, and he is on the way to defeating this obstacle. So obviously he's a Royals fan. And if any of you saw the game yesterday, that's helping him stay motivated. So grateful for all of you here. Thank you for being a motivator, a supporter, and a guide to all of those around you, your coworkers, your colleagues, and your students. Everyone has obstacles and struggles and goals, and sometimes roadblocks come up. Think of how many students and coworkers may be dealing with tough times, and don't underestimate the power of lending an extra hand with a project or making that phone call to reach out to your struggling student. Even though you may not know it, you are someone's outer motivation when their inner motivation isn't enough. My name is Leigh Richards. I serve students as an admissions advisor at Trident University, and that was my moment of presentation.